Namaste. Thanks for joining. So this shorter practice will be a awesome little guided session to bring more awareness to breath, to maybe understand some of the principles and the sticky points of meditation and how we find that harmony, that equilibrium of sort of focus and softness and discipline with non-attachment. So when we meditate, when we practice breath, sometimes we just slip straight into that perfect stream and we find ourselves just enjoying every breath. And then other times it's a bit too rigid and then we're like, we need more discipline, and the discipline creates more rigidity, and the rigidity might work but often doesn't, and it leads us more just feeling like we're on a loop that isn't leading anywhere. So some things to think about with the breath, and contrary to the name somewhat, pranayama translating to breath control or energy control, the first principle to consider might be to release the breath, remove the rigidity around the breath. So trying to create a breath that is more harmonious and natural. So taking away rigidity. Number two would be attention. So if we're going to remove that control, we need to increase the attention. And with the increase in attention, we're maintaining that sort of, connection to the practice. And then a third would be no judgment. What a classic. It applies for life. It applies for most things in life. I'm sure those with children will relate to that idea of not having too much rigidity around their children or around the people in your life can create space for them to be themselves, to flourish. But then paying extra attention is essential to make sure that giving that space is still mindful and that there is some nice guidelines or a little bit of just divine intervention, a little bit of that direction of let's just steer them in the right direction. And then of course, non-judgment. When mistakes are made, we know. We just have to understand it's the practice and the part and the growing cycles of life. So whether we're looking at the way we're raising children or the way that we're showing up at work and guiding someone in a new role, it doesn't matter, it's all the same. So let's use this on our breath and see what happens. But to begin, to raise our focused awareness, it could be morning, it could be afternoon, we could be fatigued and tired. We'll start with 3 rounds of Bhastrika, and there ain't nothing to it but to do it. Hands as fists at the shoulders. On the inhale, shoot the arms up. On the exhale, hands back to the shoulders as fists. Let's go. Two more. Hold the breath, palms facing up, rest the back of the hands on the knees. Slowly breathe into your belly. Breathe into the ribs and chest. Holding the breath at the top. Take your gaze to the center of the eyebrows, inward and upward. Relax your breath, relax your shoulders, relax your body. Notice how you're feeling. What is being felt? All right, round 2. Hands as fists at the shoulders. When you're ready for 12, begin. Way out. Palms up, back of the hands on the thighs. Sit tall. Breathe in slowly to the belly. ribs and chest. Gaze inward and upward. Sit tall, sit steady. Awareness to what is being felt. Releasing the breath when you are ready to do so. All right, our third round. If you've got a great big day and you need lots of energy, go for 24. Pause the tape or just keep going at the end and meet us in the pause. Otherwise, we'll go for 12. When you're ready, let there be a smile on the face. Hands as fists at the shoulders. Let's begin. All the way out. Pausing the breath slightly longer on the void retention. Gradually, slowly, softly breathe. Belly, ribs, chest. Holding the breath at the top, gaze inward and upward. Releasing the breath when you're ready to do so. Notice the effects, the echo of the practice. Moving straight into this awareness, facilitation of this first principle of our meditation breath. Release the control of the breath. Sit where you are as you are and just breathe, allowing the incoming breath to be the incoming breath, arising when it naturally does so, and releasing when it naturally does so. Remaining in stillness in your physical body, just allowing, just sitting back, just watch the breath, allow the breath to move freely. And just gently blinking the eyes open. Coming back to sight, sounds, the sensory body. And just want you to notice what you observed about the breath. What was there to be noticed about the breath? Were we there? Did we notice any pauses between the inhale and the exhale? Was there a pause after the exhale before inhale? Was the breath to the direction of the belly or the ribs? Or were we breathing up toward the chest? Was there an even breath in to breath out ratio? Or was the breath just breathing and we were not paying so much attention? Which is sort of the point. So what we're going to do is come back again. This time, freedom of breath. Allow the breath to move in its most natural, eloquent rhythm. And increase in the intensity of your attention. Not to control or manipulate, just to observe. So eyes open, gaze soft, sounds coming in. The experience of the body, sense, feel. Soften the eyelids, the eyes. Notice the colors behind the eyelids. Relax into the feeling of the breath, the body moving. Letting go of any control of breath. Notice the way the breath moves. Watch the breath with attention, with close, curious attention. A removed attention, not to manipulate or interrupt the breath. As if you were an observer, not the breath itself, just an observer. Keeping the attention to observe, to watch the going-ons of the breath. Let the breath move completely freely. Gently come back into the senses, sounds, sight, touch. Now to review what was observed. Where did the breath breathe? Belly, ribs, chest? Was it evenly distributed? Was it in one direction? We weren't controlling the breath, so what did it get up to? Was there pauses between the breath? Was the breath quiet? Was there sound? Was there moments where we breathe through the mouth. Because of course, if we felt the intention to breathe into the mouth and we stopped ourselves to remain in a nasal breath, because we know that that's more pure, there's more health benefits, well then we haven't truly released control of the breath. That was the principal one, to really let go, even if for a moment we just felt the need to. That would be within the practice of releasing the reins. So maybe you unconsciously observed that there was still some discipline around your breath. But maybe you noticed there was pauses. Maybe there was an awareness of what was happening. And this is a point to raise where what we often find is that the breath, like waves in the ocean, rises and falls. Sometimes bigger waves come in. Sometimes the set finishes and flattens out, and the breath becomes very subtle, almost unobservable. And then it'll come again. And of course, when we observe this, especially if it's the first time we've observed the breath without trying to control the breath, we might think that something must be happening here. We must be lapsing in our focus, or we're causing this. But it's important to realize that this is very, very natural, just like the waves in the ocean. It's very natural, to the point that doctors and science now measure heart rate variability, HRV, through a lot of smart devices, through the Whoop strap on athletes, and especially closely scanned for people with heart conditions, because heart rate variability, the time in difference between your heartbeat, is measured and tracked very closely, and not because of the reason we most likely think. The difference and the irregularity of the time difference between each heartbeat shows that you are in great health, in great homeostasis, alignment with the flow of life. The more regular and regulated the distance of time between each heartbeat becomes, the more robotic your body is. It means your body's laboring, it's working really hard, it's in survival, and it's not so efficient. So it's quite the opposite of how we would imagine the healthy recognition pattern would be. So with the breath, quite similarly, we want the breath to be quite irregular, or as natural as it is called. Take a mouth breath if you need to. Take it through the nose, take a belly breath, take a chest breath. Just watch and observe when you take these kind of practices, when you meditate with the breath. So finally, we have to bring back a practice with one more element. Can we remove any judgment? Can we allow the breath to come to the belly, to the chest, can we remove judgment from any feeling that comes up about the movement or the patterning, the recognition, or even lapsing our focus? Remove the judgment completely from the practice. Allow even your attention to be without judgment. If it lapses, come back. And now observe and feel how you find your experience. It'll just be a few minutes, softening again into the body. You might take a deep breath or two, and then we just want to allow the breath to find its natural rhythm. I allow the eyes to close down. Allow your whole body to soften, the mouth, the lips, the jaw. Begin to remove any control over the breath. Allow the breath to find its most natural, organic pattern. increase your attention. Observe with a curious awareness. Stay curious. Just observe, removed from the doing, just observing. In the seat of witness consciousness, just observe each breath, each pause, moment to moment. Remove any judgment from what we witness, from what is observed, free from judgment. Free from judgment, from the ebb and flow of that natural attention. Without control of the breath, free from restraining or containing in any way the regularity or irregularity of the breath. Attuned attention on witnessing and observing the breath. Removed from judgment. Let there be no effort to understand, to create understanding of breath. Just let the breath be in the moment. be no need to draw information away from the breath. Just observe. And understanding that this is a practice that is slowly developed. It takes time. And just creating that relationship to this practice is as important as participating within the practice itself. So developing that understanding and that awareness around these principles. So you might observe in daily life where these same simple rules apply and see their value. Again, like watching children play. When they know you're watching, the play shifts, it changes. The truth of the true play of the unobserved child is a truth that only they ever know. We can't know, and we need to remove that attachment to wishing to know, the judgment for thinking that that means that we might not know our child or our friends well enough. The truth is, the only way we can better relate to that beautiful free flow of life within friends, family, children, even animals, is to spend more time with our own free flow of life and play. So without needing to understand the children's play, best we spend time understanding our own freedom of mind and thought, our own freedom of expression. We meet in the field rather than trying to come to the field and know the rules. Isn't it better that we just know how to meet in the field itself? So pay attention throughout your days. Notice where you can bring in the practice of releasing the rigidity of controlling an environment, and instead applying more attention. Attention isn't necessarily intellectually conceptualizing, understanding, digesting. Attention is awareness. It's just being present. Spend time there and you might find that you can tie in the idea of removing judgment more naturally and organically. And then when we remove our judgment, we truly allow ourselves to be the essence of life, the delight of life. Just as nature intended. There must be more time for that freedom and play. Thank you all very much. Namaste.